Sahanam Sahanam Punattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we have been studying about renunciation. What is renunciation? When you have higher values. When you have higher values, what does it mean? It means that since you value something of a higher nature, you are no longer interested in something of a lower nature. At a material level, it's very easy to understand. If you had $1 billion, would you be concerned about the loss of $3-4? So at a material level, it becomes easy to understand. Whenever you have access to the higher, you understand the higher, the interest in the lower no longer exists. So what do you value is the question. Now you may say, I wonder what my values are. Suppose you ask yourself this question, what is it that I really value? How will you know what you value? It's not an acid test, but it's a good way of finding out. What is it you value? Do you have any thoughts on this? How will you know what your values are? I mean, it's all easy for us to say, no, that we have all these high values and we can make any claim. But how do we know what our values really are? Do you have any thoughts on how we'll be able to make some assessment? You know, when the going is good, when everything is fine, when you're in class, God is so important, or whatever you think higher is important, or with your books, it's very important. How do you know what your real values are? Do you have any thoughts on that?
How much time do you actually give to what you pursue, what you want to pursue?
Fantastic, Kalyan. I never expected that answer to come, but you hit the bullseye. What do you have time for? It's very simple. What do you have time for? If you have time for something, you value it. If you don't have time for it, that means you don't value it. It's that simple. Fantastic, Kalyan. Because as to say, yes, I love Vedanta, but I have no time for it. Or I love my children, but I have no time for them. Or I think health is very important, but I have no time for it. That means you don't, right? Because whatever you do value, you will have time for. Does anyone ever say, I have no time to earn money? Nobody says that. I have no time to go to work. I have no time for a job. Does anybody ever say that? They never say that. Have you ever heard anyone say, oh, I'm too busy now. I simply can't go to work. I'm too busy. Why? Because in our lives, mostly what we value is commercial activity. What is the work that is going to get me money? So this thing that 90% of the people value. Some people are very attached to family. That's another level of that. So anything happens to the family, you have plenty of time for it. But everything else, you don't have time for. Some people are very value their physical body. They have all the time in the world to put in all that effort. You know, we don't appreciate it. And I genuinely mean mean this, that if a person wants to be Mr. World or Miss Universe or whatever it is, these people, models or actors, do we even recognize the kind of effort that goes into it? How many hours a day are spent on the body? How many hours? Okay, all the exercise and the right food and the parlor and the hairdressing. The thought of it is exhausting, really. But that's what they put into that. And what do we see? We see a pretty face. And we say, oh, these people, they have such relaxed lives. Oh, no, they have terrible lives. Every night they have to go for a party. If they're not seen, they can't get a job. They have to wear those clothes, be there. What amount of work? So the work is appreciated, obviously. We have a very strong work ethic in Vedanta. We appreciate work. But when we're talking of values, it is where you put your time that tells us where you put your values. What do you spend your day doing? What in your day do you think I absolutely have to do? That has to be done. Whether anything else happens or not, that will happen. That will tell us the values. Okay? So, what is renunciation? Valuing higher things. In practical terms, that usually means the time you're spending with higher things. Like Mother Teresa won't say, right? I have no time for the poorest of the poor. But we will say that. We have no time to do that now. Because that is what she values. Right? So, very good. Our use of time tells us what we value. We may talk wonderful things, but whole day has gone watching television or whole day has gone daydreaming. I mean, it's amazing, amazing where our time goes. It's gone. So, the moment you understand something higher, the joy that thing gives you inclines you to spend more and more time. It is almost like a funnel that draws you in. Now, this is a dangerous thing. It's not a good thing. It's a dangerous thing. Because you will then stay there. Those have become your values. Wherever you do spend time, those are your values. And as far as you're concerned, that is the lower. Are you with me? Higher values, we can take as a general thing if you want to begin with. Some people work for higher causes, some people work for personal welfare. So, as a general thing. Now, how do you know how high are my values? By knowing where do I spend time. Now, wherever I do spend time, those are my what values?
Lower values.
They are my current values. And my current values are always lower values for me. So I have to constantly upgrade. Where am I upgrading to? Going closer and closer to the union with the self. So first I start with only this much. This much is all I care. And then it maybe goes to family, and then maybe community, and then humanity, living creatures. I'm going closer and closer to the self. Going closer and closer to the self means my idea of myself is expanding. I no longer think that this body is me. My concept of who I am expands. And as my concept of who I am expands, obviously, where I spend time, effort, and energy will expand. Because everybody will spend time on themselves, right? But if you think you are your country, then you will be spending time on that. Higher means you're going closer and closer to all pervasive values. Means you're going closer and closer to the self. Because of this movement upwards, the lower goes a little out of focus. A little out of focus. Out of focus means you spend lesser and lesser time thinking about it, doing something about it, worrying about it. It doesn't take up your physical time or your mental space. It's out of focus. Because it's out of focus, because you don't want to spend time on it, you will do those actions for it, which are am I making this too complicated? Why am I meeting silence like this? Because it is out of focus, the actions you perform for it, the ones you choose to perform for it, will be the most
Basic.
Important.
okay.
Habitual.
The actions you will choose, you're choosing them because they are the most
Important, prioritize.
Important. Prioritize.
Valued.
Valuable.
You're liking
appropriate,
it.
Selfish.
appropriate,
Easy.
Easier.
appropriate would probably come closest. You pick up those actions which are most
Doable.
that is never a yardstick. That I like it, that I can do it. These are not yardsticks.
Obligatory.
Yeah, I mean, you've chosen to do them in that sense, obligatory, correct. But which are the ones you'll choose? Like you have to take care of your family, for instance. So now you have to do something, right? So which are the actions which you will choose? What will you choose? What type of actions will you choose?
Which
And
are
that will
giving,
take you
which are,
closer to the goal.
which are giving
Beneficial.
pleasure,
Selfless.
Janki ji,
Which
which are giving pleasure to you.
Why would you? Those actions don't give you pleasure because for what?
which requires less effort.
Which
Beneficial.
come
All.
Vivek, dedicate all actions to Krishna is fine. Now I'm doing it I'm doing actions towards the lower. So what kind of actions will I choose? Okay, I want to dedicate all my actions to Krishna. But now I have a family, I have to earn money for them. So what kind of actions will I choose? I'm not interested. I have no mental space for the money, for all this other paraphernalia. But of course, I can't live without money, right?
Akarma.
Okay, these are just words, but the question is what? I will pick those actions which most efficiently get me that whatever little thing here or there I need. For instance, suppose I need money. What is the most efficient way of getting money? The
Take up a job. A job.
most inefficient way of getting money. Because if you take up a job, you will spend 8-9 hours on it. It's the most inefficient way of getting money. What is the most inefficient way of getting money? The most efficient way of getting
effort. Without effort.
Stock
money. Okay,
market.
They're doing the wrong things.
okay, very good. That is one thing. You go steal the
Borrowing it. Borrowing it.
money. Very good. All wrong methods you can have. But now this person has higher values. So he will reject things like robbing it or borrowing it and all of that. Yes, Asha. It is the most efficient way of getting money is corpus building. Because when you make a corpus, okay, it becomes automatically. You're not doing anything. That money is coming to you. Just sit at home and relax. That's the most efficient way of getting it. The problem with this kind of way of getting it is, what's the biggest problem with getting it like this?
lazy.
No problem.
Picking the
Need a lot of
corpus.
discipline.
Before even the discipline comes in.
You're not working to earn it. You're not occupying your intelligence or your physical activity, since it is just coming from the corpus.
So who is saying this?
I'm Jaya Narayan.
Jaya. Jaya, that's what we're saying, which is the most effective way of getting it. Either I spend my whole life taking up a job or starting a business or working very hard and earning money, and then at the end of my life I realize, oh my God, all I've done so far is earn money. Okay, it's the most inefficient way, because I wanted to spend my time doing something higher or nobler or greater, but I spend my whole life earning money. Okay, so this is inefficient. Inefficient because you spend a lot of time to get something which is very minor. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. So how do I get it in an efficient way? So efficient way is go rob a bank. Okay, rob, steal, beg, borrow, cheat. These are not efficient ways of getting money. But now you want to do something noble in the first place. And if you take up these kind of activities, they'll all become ignoble. I hope you all are listening to me properly. Okay, because I can't see you all. Please, everybody put on your videos. At least I'll see that you all are sleeping. And you'll suddenly wake up and hear that the most efficient way of getting money is borrowing, robbing, stealing, cheating. Please.
Maybe
These are,
teaching higher values to others, maybe one of the efficient way.
oh no, that's
What
the
you know, you teach others, and they
most
also
inefficient way. Most inefficient way. Who is giving anything to learn higher values? You have to constantly persuade people. Please learn them. Chalo bhai, I'll teach you without anything. But please learn it. It's the least efficient way. Okay, you don't get money out of that. That's not an efficient way of getting money. So how do you get money? What is the most efficient way?
Theft.
Of course, you can do all this negative activity, but I'm assuming that a person who is interested in higher values doesn't take to negative activity. So now what are you left with? Corpus building. Now, if you are doing corpus building, the first and most important challenge you will face is say, okay, I have a corpus of 5 crores, and then let us say I get even a 10% return on it. Then I get X amount of money every month, and my life is made. Now, what is wrong with this solution?
You become idle, you don't do anything and just
So it's a mundane
Not able,
life.
not able
It's a
to
mundane.
connect our.
It's a slow process.
No.
Assess how much you want to spend.
No, wait. Go step by step. Now, why you're all jumping? Go step by step. Very good, Asha. Asha,
How to reach corpus? How to reach corpus?
yes, correct. If I had 5 crores of rupees, I invested it nicely and I got 10% out of it and I live very comfortably. Great. But where's my 5 crores? Right. So your first problem is I don't have the money to make this corpus, which will then give me my returns. That's my primary problem. So therefore, what is my solution to this? That I must make that corpus. Right. Now I will have to think, how do I get to that figure? I must have a figure in my head. Whatever I think, 1 crore, 5 crores, 10 crores, 15 crores, whatever is my head, I think I'm going to require. I have to get that amount of money. So now what will I do? 2 things. One is I will try to earn it in whatever way I can currently. And 2 is I will
Save and invest.
Minimize my desires.
reduce my expenses.
Okay, expenses.
Reduce my expenses and try to get an income. Even if I earn 500 rupees, okay, I can save money. This is a fact of life, and I'm telling you this because I have done it. Okay, so don't please come back to me and say, no, mere paise bachte nahi hai. Don't come to me and say that. When I finished my course, Swamiji sent me to Delhi. There was a house for me to stay and, of course, food for me to eat. This is taken care of. Now, what am I supposed to do when I go there? I'm supposed to expose this knowledge to as many people as I can. Right? I can't sit at home and eat that food and expose the knowledge. What do I have to do for that? I have to go out, take classes, meet people. Who is footing that bill? When I have to go to a place to take a class, who foots that bill? So, Komal, your belief that if you start doing this, people will give you money, I can tell you that no, they don't. It doesn't even occur to them that there is a bill involved. People, if you charge for spiritual things, they say, oh, spiritual, and they're charging. If you don't charge for it and you say, okay, give me a donation, they say, ye dekho, hamesha chanda mangte hain. Like, pagal hai kya sabke sab? How is everything to function without money? What is it people think that God drops money on spiritual institutions? Every time I have this thing, somebody or the other will come to me and say, is it good to charge? Is it good to charge? Means you have to decide. Either you charge or you take donations. One way or the other, the money has to come. Okay? Now, please think about this carefully. So when you get, so I used to go around, where little chiller, so I would take a bus. Often I would not take a bus. I would walk. But there's a limitation to how much I can walk, right? So I would do things like, is bus stop se us bus stop tak itna hota hai, so I will walk to that bus stop first, and I do all these mental calculations of what is the cheapest way for me to reach there. 6 months later, somebody gave me 100 rupees. 100 rupees. Okay, to cover all my expenses. You know what I did? I put that 100 rupees in the bank and continued to live my life the way I was originally living. Like doing the calculations of kaun si bus kahan tak, right? The only point over here is, what is the point over here?
Reduction of expenses.
Reduce your expenses.
You can save no matter what your income is. So don't come back to me and say that. You'll be telling it to the wrong person if you come back to me and say that. Because I live my life like that. So don't say that to me. It is absolutely incorrect. In fact, you may say, okay, you're a spiritual person, but I realized that that's even what my husband did. I mean, I wasn't my husband at that time. But every time he got a promotion in life, he continued to live at the previous level, whatever his previous level was. That is how everybody builds a corpus. What we do normally is, the moment income goes up, our expenses go up. And that is an unending chase. Absolutely. So if you want an efficient use, you first concentrate on making that corpus. That is everybody's first job. Because the moment you have that, now you're freed from the fear of what will happen if this happens and I have no money. You buy your freedom with that corpus. You don't have to ask anybody, you don't have to do anything, you bought your own freedom. Right? This is the most efficient way. And this is one of the examples of dealing with the lower in an efficient way. Whatever we have to transact with, in terms of the lower, since you're not interested in that, you deal with it in whatever most efficient way you have. So you think about it. What is the most efficient way? What is the quickest way? What is the most efficient way? And deal with it. That way, the lower is more productively taken care of. And your time, effort, energy is spent on doing something nobler, greater, better. We are not animals that we spend excuse me, our whole life in just making a living. That's what animals do, right? What does the tiger do? What does the lion do? What does the gazelle do? What does the monkey do? All their time and effort and energy is spent on getting food, getting mate, getting security. This is what they spend their time on. Their life is this. Is this our life? And yet we need all these things. See, we are animals just as they are. Don't forget that. We need it all. We need the food, we need the mate, we need the blah blah and the security and the blah blah and all this various stuff. This personality is going to need. But if you're disinterested in it, you do what it needs. no more, no less. And that is why you will see that people who are Vedantans, they're usually well-to-do, they're materially satisfied, they're very satisfied with terms of their relationships and things like that. They're usually reasonably healthy. Every aspect is well taken care of. In fact, often better than those people who spend their life doing it. So when you say I'm a person of renunciation, most people will think, oh my God, ye to bilkul hi failure hai jeevan mein. No, he's not a failure. He is a success. He is the only success. Imagine a person who's running a business because, maybe he inherited it, or maybe that's his nature, or whatever. For a reason, he's running a business. How could it possibly be that he was not highly productive in it? How could it possibly be? He will have the highest concentration, he'll have the best intentions, he'll have the most commonsensical approach, he will not get carried away. How can he not be productive? It's impossible. A Vedantin will always be the most productive, most efficient, most effective person. Because he's methodical, he's organized, he is dedicated, he is hardworking, he's everything. And yet, remember, even in the beginning of this class, there was this feeling that somehow they are just these poverty-stricken people. Unka kuch hai hi nahi zindagi mein. Not true. Just so not true. Almost everything. Everybody who has studied Vedanta has grown materially as well as spiritually. They've become sensible human beings. Okay? So how would you become more sensible? When will we become more sensible?
We have higher, when we have higher values.
When we say higher now, what do you mean?
You have less desires.
Okay, and you have less desires because you have done what?
Give the right value.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What
You're
are you doing?
you're handling your
Renunciation.
current desires efficiently.
Yes. So what are your current desires? No, the current needs. Whatever needs to be done, you just do it.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, when I'm saying I have to become more sensible, that means I have to become what?
Renunciate.
Okay, so I'll become a renunciate by doing what?
You have to develop your intellect.
Okay, and my intellect will tell me to do what?
Become independent.
Self-sufficient. Self-sufficient.
Okay, but that's an effect. What have I to do?
Living a life with simplicity.
More active.
Simplicity? No, you can be a king. How can you be a simple king? Suppose you are a...
having a higher goal and
what is
lessening your desires.
Moving closer to the self.
Moving closer to the self. Very good. Who said that?
Kinnari man.
Ah, okay. Why is it? First I used to get those little boxes that would tell me who's speaking. Now I don't seem to get them. Here you are. Yes.
Jankaji, now we are spotlighting you so that only your name, your picture remains. Should I change that?
No, these guys want it for the recording. No, I change it from here that I can... I change it from the spotlight so that I can see everybody. But still those green things don't come. It's okay, you continue with your things. That was a requirement from some channel who wanted the recordings. Okay, so what was I saying? So now a person who lives a sensible life will have his time, effort, attention put on the higher, and efficiently take care of his lower needs. Now lower needs, I don't mean that they are lower. What I mean is other needs, everything else which has to be done, he will take care of it efficiently. Right? Because, now suppose you are short on time and you have some work at the bank. What are you forced to do? You are forced to think of a way by which you can deal with that efficiently. So what will you do? You'll do it online, or you'll call up your relationship manager. You don't want to go spend time at the bank. But suppose you're a retired person. Now what will you do? You will go physically to the bank. You will sit over there. For retired people, going to the bank is equivalent to the youngsters going to CCT. You know that, right? Because it's where they go, they'll get chai pani and they'll sit and they'll chat with people. Why do they do this? Because they have the time. But if it's a youngster, he doesn't want their tea and he doesn't want their coffee. He wants the job done. So older people, they take them also easily, because the older person will come. You didn't fill the passbook today? Okay, I'll come again. And he'll say, oh, y'all are so inefficient. Y'all are not filling my passbook. Okay, tomorrow I will come again. Like that, he will go on. But if you have something to do, you can't afford to do that. So you said, no, I want internet access so that I'll just download my own stuff. I don't want to waste my time coming to you. Right? I'm just giving this as an example of when you are focused on doing something, you make everything else which needs to be done as efficient as you can make it. Obviously, everything can't be done, but whatever you can efficiently do quicker, you will do it because you don't have the time. So similarly, a person of renunciation does his work very efficiently, because he's now going to pull out the time from all this unnecessary stuff and apply it to the higher. Now, it's very interesting. Why is a Vedantin always very organized? Because the more organized you are, the less time you spend on something. Suppose you don't know where your keys are, your car keys are. You don't know where they are. There's no place for them. They could be anywhere in the house. There was a study that was done. These Americans are very good at doing studies. They did a study. The average American spends 55 minutes every day looking for something. And if they spend it, we must also be spending 55 minutes. These 55 minutes you can collect and use for a greater purpose when you are
organized.
If your things are neat and tidy and organized. That is why this person tends to be a minimalist. Minimalist doesn't mean that he doesn't buy anything. Minimalist means he buys the most efficient things. If you can have one device doing the job of two, you'd rather have the one doing the job of two, right? Assuming you're not using both together. So you start thinking like that what can I do by which time is saved? Because you want to save that time. So I hope you're getting the point. The point is that the person of renunciation, because he thinks it through, has maximum time, maximum results, and can handle the most number of things in spite of the fact that his concentration is not even on them. In fact, it's a strange thing. He does every action with so much concentration that he does, where other people do 10 actions, he needs to do just one. Now we are all somewhere in this line of doing this. All of us. Nobody's at 0, nobody's at 100. But we have to work our way up. So to work our way up, we will have to
organize.
No, all this will happen if we work our way up. So working our way up in values means doing what?
Efficient.
Moving to self. Moving to self.
Moving to the self. Very good. The closer and closer we go to the self, the higher the values grow, the more everything else will become organized, efficient. People will wonder how you are so productive. How do you manage to do so many things, they'll ask. Actually, you're doing fewer things. And therefore, you have plenty of time. You're always available for anybody who requires you. Anybody who sends you a message will get an instant reply. Otherwise, people, you send them a message, you wait 2 days for them to reply. Then 2 days later, you say, what happened? Why didn't you reply? They say, oh, I forgot. This is a waste of time, right? Either your answer is yes or no, or I don't know. You have 3 possibilities. Give those one of those 3 and get on with life. So every time, if you can't do something instantly, somebody says, come, let's go out for lunch. And you say, no, I can't go. It's usually an indication of inefficiency. Because why isn't your work of this moment completed till now? Why isn't it completed? A job should be done when it comes, not when it's due. Nobody gets this in life. And those who get it in life always have plenty of time. A job is done when it comes to your cognition, not when it is due. And this kind, so when other people look at you, they say, oh, what tremendous self-control. But actually, as far as you're concerned, it was not self-control, it was just what you thought was sensible. So the process of going towards the higher values makes looking after the other aspects of life incredibly efficient. And so you get the 2 ends of the spectrum. You get material well-being and you get spiritual growth. And that is why this whole thing it's an education on how to live. Because if you try to do any other thing, you'll miss one of these 2. Now, if this much is clear, with this understanding, let us read the next paragraph. This is clear, everybody? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So who will read the next paragraph?
I'll read.
Please.
Yeah. Few in the world today have a proper understanding of this magnificent stand of renunciation. The ignoramuses feign this illustrious state of being by their outward practices. They live in seclusion, discard prosperity and possession, avoid sense contact, put on an act of celibacy. With all that, their minds entertain material and sensual thoughts. They still harbor mundane values. Their appraisal of the world remains high. Such impersonators are far removed from the state of renunciation. Thing in this, they are showing that only by outward practices, you cannot find out whether a person is renunciate from inside or not. Maybe from outside, they look like a renunciate, but inside their thoughts are all corrupted and they are thinking of same sense objects and possessions and all, but they are just to show off they are doing that. That's what I understood.
Yeah. So whether they're doing it to show off or misunderstanding, whatever, but these are impersonators. They say, oh no, I'm very simple clothes. Your simple clothes don't determine your state of renunciation. Your renunciation is determined by your
values.
Inner values. Inner values.
By the values you hold. Right? So sometimes, there's a story that, the Buddhists are vegetarian, right? So there's a story that once Buddha went to somebody's house and they offered him meat. And he ate it. Now you'll say, oh my God, look, Buddha, he ate non-veg. The thing is, what action a person should take in a given circumstance only that person's wisdom is going to know at that point. We would rather fake it than be it. But the trouble with faking it is, if you fake it, as the Gita says, you don't get the effects of renunciation. And what is the effect of renunciation?
Reduction of desires.
That is, but what is the effect of it? That is, renunciation is that. But what is the effect? What will happen to you if you are a renounced soul?
Closer to the self.
That is what is renunciation. What
You will be less agitated.
Peace. You'll be humble, silent, peaceful.
You will have spiritual and material success. But if you fake it, how are you going to get it? By faking renunciation, you're not going to become more organized. By faking renunciation, you're not going to build up a good corpus. By faking renunciation, you're not going to get along with your family. So what are you trying to do? There's no point talking about how simple I am or not simple. All these is immaterial. See, as a king, you will have to wear certain types of clothes. As a prime minister, you have to do certain things. You can't say, oh, my prime minister, he should be simple. He should fly commercial aircraft. He can't. How can he do that? He has to have his own plane because otherwise he has no time to run the country. So each state, each thing, each state means each state of being, each profession, each job requires its paraphernalia for those people to do it. You can't say, oh my God, he lives in that. He has so many staff members. He has to have staff members. How does he run the country? You can say, oh, he's not a renunciate because look, he has so many people working for him. He has to have it. So all these upari things, they don't matter. What matters is, where do your values lie? As a prime minister, are you working for the nation or are you working for yourself? As a singer, are you working for the art or are you working for your name, fame, fortune? As a cricketer, are you playing for the country or are you playing for your records? These are the kind of things that determine it. Now, obviously, if you are going to be a cricketer playing national level, you will have to get the best bat. You can't say, I'll be a renunciate. I will buy a cheap bat and play. No, you can't do that.
Made in China.
Sorry?
Made in China bat.
No, okay, made in China bat you can't take. You'll have to take the proper willow. So now, each thing will require something. And you will take the one which is most efficient. Not the cheapest, not the expensive, not the branded, but
appropriate.
Most efficient.
Most efficient. That's the one you take. Doesn't matter how much it costs or doesn't cost. It's too expensive. It's too cheap. That's not the point. Point is what gets the job done. Right? So when you're impersonating, you don't get all this stuff right. And the consequences, the result, the great result of Vedanta, or the great result of renunciation is denied to us.
Janki ji?
One second.
Just now.
1 second, let me just read Momita's question. The fakers do not even get the mundane fruits they actually value. But why do they put their energies into this faking? Well, ignorance is a very sad thing, Momita, in this world. Many people are going around killing people, saying that my religion says so. Ignorance is a deadly thing. And if ignorance is backed up with arrogance, there is just no hope for it. So why do they put it? Because remember we discussed about how knowledge is being able to see reality. So you are not seeing reality, then you do all sorts of messes of different types, and can be quite creative in how you manage to mess it up. Yeah, Milind.
Janki, just now you gave this example of Buddha, no? He went to somebody's house and he ate meat. So what is the justification?
Those poor people had made for the Buddha what, according to them, was the most precious, most wonderful thing that they had. So he appreciated their bhavna. So he had it. Now that is not, oh, Buddha ate meat, so even I can eat meat. No. Wait. Stop. Our situation is not his situation. We are not to follow the actions of anybody. We have to understand what it is and deal with the situation in front of us. We are not being like anybody, following anybody. Nothing. What is that situation in front of me? And how best can one deal with it? Is my only question. Nothing else to it. What can I do in this situation which is beneficial for everybody and will give the longest term benefit as a human being? That is my only question. Since I'm over here, I have to do something. Since I have to do something, let me do what will create maximum benefit for the longest period of time. Then I have to answer the question for myself. What is that action? And in every situation, I may answer this for that situation in wide and varied ways. The important thing is, why did I do this? Why am I doing it? With what degree of efficiency am I doing it? Because efficiency means that you have engaged the intellect. You've engaged the intellect means your desires are not playing. So this is the loop we have to get in. Just very matter of fact. Is this one better or this one better? This one is better. Okay, this one we go. So then now that you have chosen this or this, you choose this one. Just a matter of fact. Not at all excited by anything. Not at all carried away by anything. Neither enthusiasm nor negligence. Neither. Just moment to moment objectivity. Moment to moment. With the best intentions and objectivity, you have these two things in life. You have everything. You don't need anything else. How do you do it? By having higher and higher goals, higher and higher values. You don't get it by pretending anything. You don't get it by leaving anything or getting anything. None of these. Any questions, or shall we go to the next paragraph? Who will read the next paragraph?
May I, ma'am?
Yes, please.
True renunciation, therefore, is that capacity in you to set the right value for all that the world offers, to consider them ephemeral and inconsequential, even while you may be amidst them, perhaps enjoying them. The above dissection of renunciation clears the general misconception of a materialists and sensualists. A person is adjudged a materialist or not by the value he confers upon material wealth regardless of the quantum he possesses. When he understands material object as trivial and trifling, as valueless and a potential impediment to spiritual growth, he is no materialist. Whereas another who carries much value for material wealth regards it as a primary aspect of life would be a materialist, whether or not he possesses it. Similarly, a sensualist is not judged by the extent of his contact with or enjoyment of sense object, but by his mental attitude towards them. When a person places sense object and the pleasures thereof in their proper perspective, realizes their clear limitations, consider them the harbinger of future sorrow and misery, and maintain a suzerainty over them. He is no sensualist even if he were to enjoy them, whereas the one who considers sensual pleasures as an all important part of life succumbs to the pleasure of the senses. I think this paragraph tells us about how renunciation makes a difference between the materialistic person and a sensual person.
Not renunciation. What is the difference between what is renunciation? That's your first few lines. Correct. Very good. And second tells us who is a materialist, who is a sensualist. So who is a materialist?
Who gives value to it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let Pravesh say it first.
One who accumulates material things, like money, property.
No, not at all. Why accumulates? A person may have a lot of wealth. Take J.R.D. Tata. He has a lot of wealth. Is he a materialist? So what makes a person a materialist, Pravesh?
Those who is engaged with the sensual objects. Materialistic things.
Yeah, so who is a materialist?
Having a possessive attitude to his possessions.
Let her reply. Why are you replying?
It's okay. Come, Pravesh.
My apologies, yeah.
Materialistic is one who is not able to understand the spiritual path. He's engaged with.
A person who does not understand material objects as trivial, trifling, valueless, and a potential impediment to spiritual growth. If he doesn't understand this, okay, but he values those objects. Like, mera ye gaya to mera kya hoga, like that. He's so much value for it. That value which he gives to it is what makes him a materialist. He may have all the wealth in the world. In fact, a renunciate is very likely to be a very wealthy person. In fact, it is very unlikely that a renunciate will not be wealthy. There are so many examples I cannot even begin to tell you of people in our own classes, people who have worked for the cause. Okay, they have not done commercial activity for themselves. They have worked for the cause. I have often thought to myself, how do we compensate this person for all this work that they are doing? And it's like suddenly they just get some money from somewhere. Because this is the law of life. That the more of a giver you are, the more you will be filled. So a renunciate is a person who's such a big giver that it's the most likely thing is that he will have an excess of his needs. He will feel the sense of abundance that maybe Ambani doesn't feel. Because he will constantly be receiving so much and feeling so happy and so satisfied. Then so many hundreds of times you see it, people who are like almost you think, how will this person manage? And like some gift of manna, something comes on them. So many times this has happened. So a person may have a lot. Well, what can he do if the world keeps handing him things? What is he going to do? At best, he can give more. When he gives more away, more comes to him. Now, what is he going to do? He is very well to do. But his value for it is not very high. This is always how it has been in our country. Don't look at the last 200-300 years. This was all man-made and artificially created. But we had so much wealth. All our philosophy says wealth is useless. So now people are thinking, oh, poverty is a good thing. And not poverty, nobody's saying poverty is a good thing. But the philosophy is saying wealth is useless. How can you say wealth is useless? And if you think wealth is useless, go to a municipal hospital for your cure. Send your children to municipal schools. Don't talk like this. Wealth is useless. No, but then why does our philosophy say it? Because just think of that time. Everybody is a giver. Everybody is doing this noble work. Money is being showered on them. They used to say ki sone ki chidiya, and then their roads were paved with gold. This was the stories, I mean, they're not really paved with gold, but there's just so much money here. That's why all these fellows came, to India to get all that wealth. And we said that wealth is useless. As Ramatirtha says, iron and gold can buy iron and gold. What will you do with it? You'll exchange one of those things for the other of those things. So we look down on wealth. But how do you get this capacity to look down on it? Because there is so much of it. Poor people will never say wealth is useless because they don't have it. But when you have plenty and it means nothing, you say, oh yeah, big deal. That is not to be misunderstood that it doesn't have its value. It doesn't have its use. So who is a materialist? Who believes that these are very important things. Who is a renunciate? Who gives it the right value. Who is a sensualist? One who believes ki what is life? It's only meant for enjoying the senses. He's a sensualist. But if he says, yeah, it's fine, it's very nice to see nice things and hear nice things and smell nice things, they're nice, they're very nice, good. Because he is interested in something else. He said, no, he's not a sensualist. And he could be actually possessing and actually enjoying these things. In fact, the renunciate, this is the dichotomy of the whole thing. The renunciate will probably enjoy the ice cream more than you and I will. Why will he enjoy? Because
moderation is there.
Moderation is there also. In that moment, that person is always in the moment. If someone gives us an ice cream, we'll say, oh my God, so many calories. Should I have so much or have less? So much complication we have. If he's eating the ice cream, his life is only that ice cream. That's it. There is no aage piche. He's fully available to every enjoyment.
So, these three categories can be called as like tamas, sattvic, and rajas. Like those who is renunciate can be considered as sattvic, and those who is related to the materialistic can be called as rajas, and the last one, those who is engaged in the enjoyment of their senses can be called as tamas. In that way, consider it.
But there's no reason to say this because it's possible that a rajasic person may be a sensualist as well. But of course, let's say that person does nothing to earn money, is only interested in enjoying. Okay, you can say it, but not necessary to bring in the idea now. Okay, so who is a renunciate? One who values the right things. How do you know what your values are? By knowing what you spend time over. That will tell you what your values. How is your day going? What are you spending time? Okay. Now, who is a materialist? A materialist is a person who believes that getting these things is the most wonderful thing that can happen to him. Who is a sensualist? Who believes that being able to enjoy these things, getting is not enough, but to enjoy them. That is the most important thing in this. So does a renunciate not have material wealth or sensual enjoyment? No, he has more material wealth because he has the most efficient way of getting it, dealing with it. It doesn't take up his mental space. And what about his sensual enjoyments? They are more because His mind is available in the moment. He doesn't get unduly excited they have come. He enjoys them, and when they go, he is not depressed that they've gone. He gets all the joy that thing is capable of giving it, because everything has a capacity of joy, right? He gets all that much. He neither wants more, nor does he want less. He is just in the present moment. Okay? We'll continue next time. Hari Om.